Ever wanted to know where the ideas for your favorite KVU characters came from? Well, there's a chance you probably didn't, but I need video content, so too bad. You're gonna find out today. Hey guys, this is Earth's Mightiest Nerds, welcoming you to another video, and today we're going to be doing something very different. I've kind of wanted to do this before, but I've never really gotten around to it. So, like I said in the, cold open, we're going to be discussing the origins of some KVU characters, and I don't mean, the in-universe origins, where did these characters come from? Where do we get the ideas for them? How did they evolve? So, yeah. There's a very interesting story behind that, actually. In the summer of 2019, I first started creating this character called Kermit the Frog, and I'll talk about how he came to be later. I shared this impression slash character with my friends, Jameson, 19, and Charizard, 27, and they thought it was pretty funny. And eventually we began to create more characters through more impressions, and began to build what basically would be the proto-KVU, which is a lot different from the main KVU for reasons that, some of which will be explained in this video, others I don't 100% remember, because that was right before COVID happened, so, you know, there was a lot of stuff that happened after that, which makes you kind of forget. But, anyways, let's not waste any more time, let's get started. Okay, so the first character we're going to be talking about is Kermit. So, where exactly did the idea for the narcissistic, and rude, I'm trying to name all of the adjectives, but I can't even think of all of them, and stupid and ugly frog, where did Kermit the Frog come from? So, if you guys haven't watched him, there's a pretty good chance my viewers haven't. There's a YouTuber by the name of Best in Class. I love him, he's one of my favorite YouTubers, and, on his friend's channel, Are You Super Serial, he uploaded a video called Kermit the Door Salesman. And I watched that video in the summer of 2019, and I thought it was hilarious. So I thought, what if I sort of created this, sort of personality based on this voice impression, since I started to impersonate Kermit the Frog, and it sounded like this. So I thought it would be funny if I turned him into a character similar to how Best in Class did it. So he became this, really obnoxious and rude, and, basically everything the opposite of what you would expect of Kermit. Originally, I didn't have the puppet, so he was just, my hand like this, and that's how we came up with the skinless idea. But eventually, I did buy him his new skin. Kermit has always been very anti-Disney. Roderick has always kind of been around, and we'll get to him later, because there's a pretty funny story behind him, too. But yeah, Kermit never really, when we made the switch over from the proto-KVU, which was just an ongoing joke between me and my friends, to the main KVU, Kermit didn't really change that much, because he was pretty bare bones character, and he was already great as it was. Alright, so you may not think that Elmo is such a major player in the KVU. He's been in only really one installment, Elmo's Scary the 19 Cut, and he made two very bad movies before that. We don't talk about those. But there's actually a lot of lore behind Elmo in the proto-KVU. He was a much bigger deal in the before times. So there's another guy who you need to know in the story, and maybe he'll be on my channel at some point in the future. For now, we're just going to call him the Nerd Ninja. He may have a different name later. We'll have to wait and see. So when I started doing Kermit, he also could kind of do an Elmo impression, so he created the Elmo character, but we eventually made up a story when we went to summer camp one time that Kermit, well, he kind of murdered, Elmo. So Charizard comes in with his Elmo impression, and that becomes Elmo Jr., and he's the son of the Elmo that Kermit murdered. So I don't think that's canon to the KVU. I doubt it. There's a small chance, but we'd have to wait and see. I doubt it. Okay, Roderick. Also another one from the Best in Class videos. So, in those videos, Kermit has a brother named Timrick, who is a magician. So, I kind of wanted to make a character like Timrick, but I didn't really think the concept would work with the Kermit I had. So, instead, I knew that Kermit was all anti-Disney, so I said, well, what if he got fired when Disney bought the company? And so we had Jameson do a half impression of Kermit the Frog, because his Kermit voice doesn't really sound a lot like Kermit. It sounds passable, but no offense, Jameson, but mine's better. But originally Roderick was a lot more snotty and, like, more uptight. He was more, like, snarky. He became nicer when we made the switch over to the real KVU. Also, I don't think Roderick was always Kermit's cousin. I think that's new, but I don't remember. Okay, another thing about Best in Class, how he inspired the KVU. Donkey. Yeah, y'all know the voice of Donkey. It sounds like this. Best in Class, on his universe, he plays the character of Big Bird, and he does a voice similar to that, except it's pitched down a lot like this. And originally, I really should be talking, this is also half Fozzie, kind of, this a little bit for Fozzie, but it was also originally Fozzie's voice, so originally Fozzie sounded like this. But eventually I kind of got rid of that because I just didn't like it, and also I didn't really think I had a Fozzie when we started the KVU. But eventually we got, like, the Fozzie that you guys know, and I just used the Fozzie that you know in the KVU. Although really he just kind of sounds pretty similar to Kermit. Like, I could make the jump when you have them as two separate characters, and when they're talking, you can, like, hear the difference. But if I were to just switch randomly, it'd be harder to tell, because they sound pretty similar. But anyways, eventually, we were doing a skit for, obviously, the Rise of Skywalker episode of Bunker Warlock, and I said, so, Jameson had this plushie of Donkey from Shrek. I happen to own the same plushie. He's up there in my closet. And I said, wouldn't it be hilarious, like, he says there's going to be an army general, and I said, wouldn't it be hilarious if that was Donkey from Shrek? And so, he said, well, I can't voice Donkey, and I sort of made up the voice there on the fly. It was really just the Big Bird voice, except I pitched it up and, like, made it a little faster, kind of sound like Eddie Murphy, and so it became, alright, everyone who's not dead yet, get to the bunker immediately! And, like, stuff like that. And so that's kind of Donkey's origin. It's funny. Bill Stevenson actually already existed on YouTube. You can watch an old video I made called, like, Connections Ad. I forget what it's called. But that was the proto Bill Stevenson. It's kind of also the proto Roach Soda, if you watch that. At least someone similar to him. It's the same bathrobe. But the voice came from a They Might Be Giants song called John Lee Super Taster. There's this guy who talks at the beginning, and he goes like this: when I was 39 years old, I heard a story. I found out there are people living among us who have superpowers. And then that became the voice of Bill Stevenson. So yeah, that's how he came about. Bob the Toad from the new Toad Tales show. Episode 2 is out at the time of recording this. Go watch it. It's a hilarious show. I actually helped write it, by the way. I came up with the character of Bob the Toad as when I was brought on to help write Despacito Inc. I thought, what if we don't really have any, like, gimmick characters, like one-trick ponies in the KVU, so I thought it'd be fun to have a running gag character. So, if you know anything about regular show, you know Bob the Toad is literally just the character of Muscle Man with his face slapped on a toad's body, and he has the ongoing joke. For example, let's see, I've got here, I'm kind of upset because I dented up my Jack Skellington headphones then. You know who else dented up the Jack Skellington headphones? My mom! And yeah, that's just one episode. Prof originally came from a play I was doing called Back to the 80s, but it got canceled because of the pandemic. But yeah, I played the character of Evan Gelb. He has the same costume, and he's pretty much exactly the same as he is, except with kind of a different plot line. Yeah. So there's not that much there. Han the Toad. So I did the voice of Han the Toad in Toad Tales the movie when he has on the voice changer. Where that voice came from was... It's just me doing the Red Skull impression from the series Avengers Assemble. But that reminds me of another interesting story. Where did the Toads as a character come from? So obviously when I started doing Kermit, Charizard originally started doing Toad, and first Toad just looked like this. He kept saying, hello, I'm Toad, and I just assumed, oh, because Kermit's a frog and he's Toad. It took... I am so bad with these sorts of things. Like, months later I realized, oh, he means Toad from Mario! Another example of that is... in the movie episode of Bunker Warlock, I was an active theorist that Pony Boy was actually Dale, and, like, Barbara turned him into a pony. And then Dale says in the episode, what, did you think I was a pony? And just recently it clicked for me that he was making fun of my theory. So yeah, I'm bad with these sorts of things. Fat Man, that's another thing from Best in Class. Another guy named Die Trickster. I knew about Fat Man, but I didn't initially want to bring him into the KVU because I thought, okay, that'd be too much of a ripoff. But eventually, we started tossing around ideas like, okay, we want to introduce a new character, until Fat Man came about. I think my Fat Man is a bit better version, because I don't think Die Trickster's Fat Man actually fights crime. I think he just raids people's houses for food. My version of Fat Man actually does fight crime. I mean, he's terrible at it, but he does it. Interesting fact about Donald, if you've seen It's a Duck Blur, you know I can't do the Donald voice very well, like the actual Donald voice. Here, I'm gonna try to do it right now. He can kind of say hello, but he can't really do much else. So, when it came time to do the Donald episode, I'm like, what do I do for his voice? So then I remembered that in the DuckTales series, he was voiced by Don Cheadle. So really, the Donald voice is just kind of me doing a Don Cheadle impression. I don't really think it sounds like Don Cheadle that much. But yeah. Funny story about the character of Bat Guy. Originally, Charizard created Bat Guy, and he was going to be Bat Guy until we realized that Jameson was infinitely better at it, and so he became Bat Guy in Toad Tales the movie. And finally, something you might not know, last little tidbit here, on Jameson 19's TikToks, which are now been deleted, I think, there are proto-versions of Dale, Alex, and Fatso. Like, there's a guy who wears sunglasses who's dumb, like, there's an audio like, pretend this thing's a grenade, and then that's Dale. There's, like, a smarter guy who doesn't wear glasses, and then there was this fat guy who was like, oh, I can't even count that high! Yeah, so, you might not have known that. Okay, yeah, this was just a little video to prove I'm not alive. Kermit the Musical is making good progress. I'll make an update video when the soundtrack's done. Okay, like and subscribe, join the notification league. That wraps up the video. Bye!